Violet, a 35-year-old graphic designer from Seattle, found herself single again after a painful divorce. It had been a year since she and her husband parted ways, and now she felt ready to dip her toes back into the dating pool. Violet wanted to reconnect with someone special, sharing laughter and dreams once more. But the idea of dating left her with a mix of excitement and worry. The world of dating had changed so much since she was last involved, and she feared she might not fit in. Violet had read stories about the struggles of modern dating, filled with swipe left and swipe right scenarios that seemed daunting. She feared the hurt of rejection, remembering how her heart broke the first time she learned that love could crumble unexpectedly. Those feelings lingered from her past relationships, where trust was often a fragile thread. Her experience with a toxic ex-boyfriend weighed heavily on her heart, leaving her hesitant to open up again. To help herself, Violet decided to approach dating with both caution and curiosity. She installed a popular dating app called Matchmate on her phone, hoping it would ease her into social interactions. This app allowed users to connect over shared hobbies, like her love for hiking and cooking. She felt hopeful seeing profiles of people with interests matching her own, but she also felt the pressure of appearing perfect in those photographs. Violet contemplated societal expectations around dating. Friends had played matchmaker in the past, leading her to awkward dinner setups she never enjoyed. With this fresh start, she wanted to be true to herself, not bending to fit others' ideas of when or how to date. This time, Violet made a personal vow to stay open-minded and explore love on her own terms, whether that meant casual coffees or indulging in deeper connections. As Violet stepped into this rekindled chapter of her life, she reminded herself to take it one day at a time. A slow sip of her morning coffee became a moment to reflect on what she hoped to achieve through dating. She cherished this newfound freedom, ready to discover what lay ahead, embracing the fact that every experience would teach her something valuable about herself and love on this journey. As Violet dove deeper into the world of modern dating, she quickly realized it wasn't as glamorous as she had hoped. At first, each notification from the Matchmate app felt like a spark of excitement. It was a rush to get new messages, meeting new faces, and drifting through a variety of conversations. But as the days turned into weeks, she found herself caught in a cycle that began to weigh heavily on her heart. Every week brought a new date, and with it, heightened expectations. Violet smiled as she swiped right, getting instant matches with people who shared her interests. However, the joy was often mixed with confusion when communication suddenly faded. One guy she met at a coffee shop spoke animatedly about his career, but the glow of their first meeting dimmed when he never answered her follow-up text. Another date left her feeling hopeful until his enthusiasm vanished after just a few messages back and forth. Violet could not shake off the feeling that something was off. This roller coaster of emotions was exhausting. Violet found herself lying in bed at night, staring at the ceiling, replaying conversations in her mind and wondering if she was doing something wrong. Were her jokes too dry? Was she coming on too strong? Each unanswered message fed her doubts and drained her spirit. Maybe dating isn't for me, she thought in those quiet moments. The excitement she once felt transformed into a lingering fatigue that wrapped around her like a heavy blanket. As weeks passed, Violet noticed signs of dating fatigue creeping in. Chatting with new people turned into a mental task rather than an adventure. The pressure of impressing someone through a two-dimensional screen had stripped away the joy she had anticipated. Instead of having fun and exploring new connections, she closed herself off more, fearing disappointment. With every failed encounter, her self-esteem took another hit, leading her to believe she might simply not be cut out for modern love. When she attended a dinner party with friends, the chatter around her revolved around relationships and dating. "You just have to put yourself out there," her friend Lisa said, a shining example of what Violet was desperately trying to find. But all this advice stung. The pressure felt immense, and she worried that her journey might never yield the kind of love everyone seemed to find so easily. The comparisons only added to her doubts, as she began to think about how long it would take until she found someone special. On some days, Violet would consider taking a break from dating altogether. Maybe she needed to refocus on her work, her hobbies, and herself before even thinking of love again. Despite the idealistic view of dating she had initially held, the reality felt harsh, and the idea of being alone seemed less frightening than facing another evening of awkward effort. Yet, amid this whirlwind of emotions, a small flicker of hope remained. Deep down, Violet relished the idea of love and companionship. She remembered the comforting moments shared with her friends over laughter and dreams, telling herself that perhaps finding love was about patience rather than perfection. She reminded herself that it was okay to feel uncertain, because every experience brought valuable lessons about her strength, patience, and worth. As she prepared to confront the next round of texting, her heart still held a glimmer of expectation that this twisted journey might lead her right where she needed to be, if only she could stay true to herself. As Violet continued her journey through the dating scene, a glimmer of hope appeared when she matched with Jake on Matchmate. From the first message, Violet felt an instant connection. Jake was charming, understanding, and shared many of her passions. They both loved hiking, cooking, and even enjoyed the same movies. Their first date was filled with contagious laughter and easy conversations, making Violet feel as though she had finally hit a small victory. For the first time in her dating experience, Violet felt a wave of confidence. She looked at Jake as someone who might appreciate her for exactly who she was. They talked about their dreams and shared stories from their past that built a sense of closeness. The connection felt electric, and her heart raced with excitement. As they enjoyed a sunset hike together, Violet felt as if she had reached a new chapter in her dating life. This was what she had been looking for all along. However, as days went by, differences began to emerge that shook Violet's growing confidence. Jake expressed that while he genuinely enjoyed spending time with her, he was not looking for anything serious. He spoke lightly about enjoying the moment and keeping things casual. Violet listened, her heart sinking a little at his words, realizing that their views on relationships were not syncing. While she was allowing herself to imagine the possibility of love, Jake seemed to hesitate at commitment. This growing tension opened a door to a clash within Violet herself. She began to question what she really wanted in a relationship. Were her feelings based on the thrill of this new connection, or did she truly want something deeper? It was a confusing time for her. Violet had to confront the reality that she hoped for a partnership, something built on mutual respect, emotional growth, and perhaps even the idea of lifelong companionship. As she navigated these conflicting desires, Violet sat down one evening to gather her thoughts. She wrote in her journal, trying to piece together her emotions. The act of writing helped her see that wanting more than Jake was willing to offer didn't necessarily mean there was something wrong with her. She understood that it was okay to dream of a serious relationship filled with mutual commitment and love. This realization brought a mixture of pride and heartache. In many ways, it felt so much easier to date someone like Jake, enjoying life's adventures without the risk of deeply falling in love. Yet, the thought of exploring a relationship that didn't align with her real desires kept troubling her heart. Violet knew she had a choice to make. Should she press forward with Jake, appreciating their connection for what it was, or voice her desire for a deeper bond, risking the fun they were having? Each day she spent dreaming about a potential future Jared against the reality of Jake's carefree attitude towards love. In this moment of struggle, Violet started to appreciate that confronting these conflicting feelings was a personal win in its own right. By acknowledging what she needed from a relationship, she began to grow, learning that it wasn't just about finding someone to share her world with but also about ensuring they shared the same vision for the future. Violet realized that her journey wasn't just about dating someone perfect, it was about recognizing her worth and understanding the type of love she truly sought. This newfound clarity pushed Violet to stand firm in her beliefs, marking the beginning of greater confidence in embracing the type of relationship she desired. As Violet spent more time with Jake, the joyful moments they shared began to wrestle against a mounting tension. After a few weeks of fun dates and meaningful conversation, she realized she was still craving something he wasn't ready to provide. It became harder for her to enjoy their connection when doubt lurked at the back of her mind. She found satisfaction in their light-hearted outings and shared laughter, but her heart longed for a deeper understanding, something Jake clearly did not want to embrace. One Saturday evening, as they had dinner in a cozy restaurant, the pleasant atmosphere shifted. Amid laughter and delicious food, Violet decided it was time to voice her thoughts. "Jake," she began cautiously, "I really enjoy our time together. I feel a special connection with you. But I've noticed we see things differently when it comes to love. Can we talk about what we both want?" Jake paused, putting down his fork and glancing out the window as if searching for clarity in the stars. "I just think it's better to focus on the fun now," he replied. "I don't really want to rush into anything serious. Relationships can get complicated and messy, you know." Violet's chest tightened as she absorbed his words. "But what if I want something more? What if I want a partner who sees a future together?" she asked, her voice shaky but firm. As she spoke, a realization hit her hard: she had to defend her own feelings, even if it meant risking what they had. Sitting at that table, Violet faced a pivotal moment. She felt the weight of her self-doubt wash over her, swirling within her like a storm. On the one hand, she could continue in her current path, enjoying the joy that Jake brought, even if it wasn't what she truly wanted. On the other hand, she could stand firm, aligning her choices with her values and boundaries, even if it meant withdrawing from their connection. It was a heart-wrenching realization. In this moment of vulnerability, Violet thought of her past relationships, how she had often settled for less to keep peace. The memory of silencing her own needs started to feel like a shadow she didn't want to carry any longer. Deciding to prioritize her own happiness felt transformative, and it became clear that expecting more wasn't unreasonable. Violet felt tears prick at her eyes as she recognized her worth and the importance of staying true to herself. "Jake," she continued, her voice steady now, "I really appreciate the time we've shared, but I need a relationship where both partners are invested in going in the same direction. I believe I deserve someone who wants the same level of commitment that I do." The heaviness of those words hung in the air, becoming a testament to her growing strength. Jake's response was not what she had hoped for. He nodded, looking taken aback, and said, "I didn't realize you felt so strongly. But it makes sense now." Violet understood the panic in his voice, yet she felt a growing resolution within herself. This was her moment to define what love meant for her. By voicing her truth, she empowered herself in ways she had never imagined. As they left the restaurant, she understood that whether she stayed with Jake or moved on, the most vital relationship was the one she had with herself. Violet chose not to compromise her values. She claimed the power to seek connection but on her own terms. Though her heart was heavy, she stood firm, ready to embrace whatever came next on her path to true love. After that dinner, Violet couldn't shake off the feeling of uncertainty. She knew she had to have an open and honest conversation with Jake about their differences. It was a pivotal moment that demanded courage. They had shared good times, and she valued their connection, but the nagging thought of unsaid feelings kept eating at her. Violet decided to invite Jake over for a quiet evening at her apartment. Her heart raced, and she could feel the weight of the conversation ahead pressing down on her chest. When Jake arrived, there was the familiar charm in his smile, but underneath the surface, Violet sensed an excitement that was mingled with anxiety. She started by making tea for both of them, hoping it would ease the tension. Once they settled on her cozy couch, Violet realized this was her moment. "Jake," she began gently, "I've been thinking about what we talked about during dinner. I want to be open with you because I care about us." She took a breath, summoning the resolve to move forward. As she spoke, Jake listened closely. She shared her feelings about wanting a deeper commitment and explained why it was important for her. "I think I want more than just fun," she admitted, vulnerability edging her voice. "I want to build something real with someone I connect with on all levels." Jake shifted in his seat, a frown crossing his face. "I get it, but I guess I just don't see things that way right now," he replied, the ease in his tone fading slightly. "I enjoy our time, but I worry that rushing into things could ruin it." I'm afraid of getting hurt. Violet felt a pang of disappointment but continued to hold her ground. But if we don't share our expectations and desires, how can we really understand each other? She pressed gently. It's okay to have fears, but we need to know where we both stand. This conversation started to reveal the cracks in their relationship, where fear clashed with longing. Violet spoke from her heart, explaining that she was not looking to force anything overnight but needed clarity. The risks of having this talk were numerous, but she knew it was necessary for her own growth. There was a chance that acknowledging their differences could end things, but stepping forward without fear also held the possibility of a greater connection. As they spoke, Violet noticed that some misunderstanding had evolved into conflict. Jake's expression hardened, and he scratched the back of his neck nervously. "I'm not ready for that kind of relationship," he replied, his voice firm now. "What if I never get there? Does that mean I'm not good enough for you?" Violet felt her heart sink at his words, but she knew she had to respond thoughtfully. "It's not about being good enough, Jake. It's about understanding what we both want. I care for you, but I cannot ignore my own needs and values." At that moment, they both realized the significance of their discussion. This dialogue was a step into uncomfortable but necessary territory. A moment of insight blossomed between them. Open communication was essential, whether they decided to continue together or part ways. The urge to protect her heart battled against the desire for genuine companionship. Violet felt lighter, as if just expressing her truth had lifted a weight. Regardless of the outcome, she understood the importance of valuing her needs. Jake seemed to feel the shift too, his tone softer as he expressed understanding. This conversation, while tough and fraught with emotion, became a transformative moment for both of them, a chance to reevaluate not only their relationship but what they truly wanted as individuals. The air changed, bringing forth the essence of real honesty, forcing both of them to confront what they needed from love and life moving forward. After their heartfelt conversation, Violet felt a bittersweet weight in her heart. She sat quietly on her couch, her mind racing with thoughts about her relationship with Jake. They had shared so much together, but as the reality of their differences settled in, she grasped the truth of her situation. Deep down, she understood that love should never feel like a compromise. Days turned into a blur of emotions as she considered what to do next. Every moment she spent replaying their conversation added clarity, but also confusion. Jake had expressed appreciation for their connection, yet the truth remained, he was not looking for a serious commitment. A part of her wanted to cling to what they had, to enjoy the laughter and fun without rocking the boat. Another part, the wise part, whispered that this was a chance to prioritize her own needs. One rainy afternoon, sitting by the window with a warm cup of tea in hand, she made a decision. The pouring rain mirrored the storm brewing inside her, but in that moment, the shadows of doubt cleared away. Violet recognized what she sought in a partner, someone who would embrace intimacy, growth, and shared dreams. A healthy relationship meant both partners needed to put in equal effort and share the same vision for the future. With a sense of resolve, she decided to arrange a meeting with Jake. This time, no laughter or light-hearted banter would cloud their discussion. She needed to be clear and honest about her feelings and the decision she had reached. Preparing herself, she rehearsed the words that would guide this crucial conversation. When they met later that week at a local coffee shop, Violet felt nervous but focused. Sitting across from Jake with foamy cups in hand, the atmosphere was heavier than usual. She took a breath, centering herself as she met his gaze. "Jake, thank you for meeting me. I've thought a lot about our last conversation, and I realized that we want different things right now." He looked down at his coffee, and she continued, "I care about you, but I can't compromise my needs. I want a relationship where we both feel fulfilled, and right now, that's not where we are." As she spoke, emotions welled in her chest, but she held steady. It was the hardest thing she had ever done, but she knew it was necessary. The stakes were high. Staying with someone who didn't share her vision for love could lead to heartache and confusion down the line. Their bond, though cherished, felt like it dragged her towards a future with no clear path. Violet realized that a love grounded in mutual understanding and respect was worth waiting for. Jake listened quietly, his expression changing from shock to sadness. "I get it," he said softly, eyes reflecting understanding but also sorrow. "I'm sorry I wasn't what you needed. I really enjoyed our time, but I know you deserve someone who shares your goals." With that acknowledgement, a weight lifted off both their shoulders. Violet felt liberated. By facing the truth, she opened herself to possibilities beyond the comfort of their relationship. The decision was not easy, but she felt stronger with every word she spoke. In choosing to walk away, she was choosing herself, an invaluable lesson that would shape her future approach to dating. Walking away from Jake, Violet stepped into a newfound freedom, ready to embrace what lay ahead. She understood that dating would not always be smooth, but this experience would be her guide. She wanted to remain open but also committed to setting boundaries that respected her values. This time, she felt determined not to settle for less than she deserved. With confidence blooming in her heart, she welcomed the next chapter of her journey, eager to pursue healthier relationships filled with love, respect, and this new understanding of herself. After making the decision to end her relationship with Jake, Violet found herself in a reflective space. The days that followed were filled with a mix of emotions, from sadness to empowerment. Sitting on her couch, wrapped in a soft blanket and sipping her favorite tea, she allowed herself to think about everything she had been through. Violet spent time reflecting on her dating journey, acknowledging the ups and downs that shaped her along the way. Looking back, she realized that every date and every connection had taught her something valuable. She learned that love is not simply about shared interests or happy moments, it is about deeper compatibility and mutual commitment. This new understanding felt freeing. While the end of her relationship with Jake left her feeling a bit empty, she also felt a wave of strength wash over her. It wasn't easy to walk away from someone who made her laugh and shared many passions. But by standing firm in her needs, she created space for healthier love in the future. Violet's heart began to recognize that true love could not only be fun but should also involve emotional support, mutual growth, and shared dreams. Through this situation, she also learned a great deal about herself. Violet felt proud that she had the courage to voice her needs and desires. This self-advocacy was a lesson she hadn't fully embraced before. The fear of being alone or settling for less no longer had as much power over her. She discovered that she could navigate the world of dating with honesty and clarity, traits that served as strong foundations for any future relationship. As the days passed, Violet's feelings began to evolve once again. Bit by bit, she moved from the sadness of change into a mindset filled with possibility. While life felt uncertain at times, she realized that it wasn't about finding someone right away. Instead, it was about valuing her own journey. Violet looked forward to reconnecting with herself, setting personal goals, and enjoying her own company. She started journaling her thoughts, expressing gratitude for the lessons learned and documenting the emotions she experienced. This writing process helped her untangle the confusion and affirm her feelings. It became a therapeutic outlet that transformed her solitude into strength. Instead of fearing the dating world, she began to feel excitement about the prospect of building connections based on deeper understanding. Throughout her reflection, Violet found herself wanting to share her insights. She reached out to friends with whom she felt comfortable discussing her experience. Opening up about her feelings lifted her spirits. They told her how brave she was for confronting her needs, and their support reassured her that she was moving in the right direction. Empowered by their encouragement, Violet considered encouraging others to engage in authentic conversations about their relationships. She decided to align her dating experiences with the newfound wisdom she had gained. No longer would she rush into situations without evaluating her true desires. Violet now knew that being single was not something to fear, rather, it was an opportunity to grow, learn, and prepare for a future filled with love that honored her heart. Through the connections she had rightfully discerned as misaligned, Violet was better equipped for the path ahead. The aftermath of her decision had transformed her perspective. No longer was she a passive participant in her dating life, she was becoming an active architect of her story, ready to embrace all the beautiful possibilities the future held on her journey of self-discovery and love. With the emotional weight of her journey sitting lightly on her shoulders, Violet focused on reclaiming her sense of self. She realized this was not just about moving on from Jake but about understanding who she was and what she truly wanted. Each day offered her a new opportunity to grow stronger, and she welcomed it wholeheartedly. Violet decided to take a break from dating, seeing it as a chance to focus on herself. She understood that her heart needed time to heal and replenish. Rather than rushing into another relationship, she embraced the idea of spending time with her own thoughts and wishes. Making self-care a priority became her main focus. She created a cozy atmosphere at home, filling it with her favorite books, scents, and music, things that sparked joy. Exploring her interests brought her a sense of excitement she hadn't felt in a long time. Violet signed up for a painting class at a local community center, something she had always wanted to try. With every stroke of the brush, she let her creative juices flow freely, enjoying the process rather than fixating on the final product. The laughter and camaraderie shared with fellow students were uplifting and offered her much-needed encouragement. Violet began to feel a renewed sense of confidence, one that stemmed from pursuing her passions. Additionally, she began a morning routine incorporating gentle exercises and meditation, which allowed her to stay grounded and focused. Every morning, she took mindful strolls around her neighborhood, observing how everything appeared fresh and vibrant. Nature filled her with peace and a clearer mindset. These practices helped her reconnect with herself, and in the quiet moments, she reflected on her values, hopes, and dreams. Violet also took the time to reconnect with friends, diving into deeper conversations about life and love. Their support reassured her that she was cultivating the right mindset. In those heart-to-heart talks, she discovered that many of her friends faced similar struggles. They shared their dating stories, their needs, and, just like Violet, they learned about prioritizing self-love and boundaries. Those connections reminded her that everyone goes through challenges, and opening up about it helped them heal together. Over time, Violet felt her confidence blossom like a flower inching toward the sun. The skills and insights gained from her experiences began to redefine her perspective on love and relationships. The emotional weight was still there, but it no longer anchored her down. Instead, it acted as a guidepost that helped her see the red flags she had once missed and understand her dreams better. As months passed, Violet felt that she was ready to step into a new phase of life. She wanted to re-enter the dating world, but this time with a clearer vision of what she sought. Violet crafted a list, not of qualities she expected in someone else, but instead the values she wanted in a relationship: trust, communication, respect, and shared goals. With this newfound clarity, she felt empowered to seek out meaningful connections that honored both her heart and boundaries. When she later felt the urge to explore dating again, Violet approached it with a different mindset. Instead of feeling desperate or rushed, she was excited about the possibilities. Fresh from her journey, she knew the worth she brought to a relationship and was ready to find someone who appreciated that as much as she did. With every step forward, Violet acknowledged her resilience and transformation. She was not just recovering, she was growing into the person she always should have been. This positive integration of lessons into her life, rooted in self-love and self-discovery, marked the beginning of an exciting chapter filled with hope and the promise of new adventures in love. Months had passed since Violet decided to prioritize herself, and now she felt like a much stronger version of the woman she once was. With each new day, she carried forward the lessons she had learned from her journey through dating, building a solid foundation of self-awareness that guided her every move. As she stepped into the world of dating again, everything felt different. Violet embraced the dating scene with cautious optimism. She no longer approached it with anxiety or fear of rejection. Instead, she entered it with a newfound perspective focused on connection. This shift in mindset allowed her to see dating as a chance to meet new people and share experiences rather than a test of her worth. Violet felt empowered to choose who deserved her time, and the pressure of feeling like she had to impress anyone faded away. One of the most significant changes she adopted was setting clear boundaries. Violet understood now that having boundaries was not just about enforcing rules, it was about creating a space where both partners could feel safe and valued. Whether it was establishing when to text, what they would discuss on the first few dates, or how they approached the idea of commitment, she was resolute in outlining her needs. She realized that these boundaries did not push people away. Instead, they attracted those who respected her and were compatible with her views on relationships. As she dipped her toes back into dating, Violet began utilizing the insights from her past experiences. When meeting someone new, she aimed to engage in deeper conversations early on. Instead of fizzling out by focusing solely on light-hearted topics, she voiced her feelings about love, commitment, and what she valued. This openness encouraged the same vulnerability in others, offering the platform for richer connections. In her interactions, Violet found she was now naturally drawn to those who expressed similar goals and values. Each date became not just an opportunity to connect but a way to explore compatibility in a meaningful way. She listened closely to potential partners, gauging how their thoughts aligned with her own. No longer would she ignore the warning signs, she learned to trust her instincts. When uncertainties arose, Violet felt confident in raising questions instead of brushing aside her feelings. With this renewed approach, Violet found her nights filled not only with meaningful company but also with healthier conversations. She experienced newfound joy in the connections she was building, surrounded by those who shared her vision of love and commitment. As each interaction unfolded, she noticed that her heart remained open, free from the weight of the past. As she flourished in this phase of her life, Violet developed a bright outlook for future relationships. She no longer saw dating as a daunting challenge but as a beautiful exploration of possibility. Violet embraced the idea that relationships could lead to a partnership grounded in mutual growth, trust, and admiration. While the experience with Jake would always be a chapter in her story, it transformed into a source of wisdom rather than pain. Violet knew that the journey of understanding herself, navigating her needs, and setting boundaries prepared her to greet love with excitement and appreciation. She believed that the right relationship would come when the time was right, without forcing it or rushing into anything. Today, Violet stood at a new crossroads, brimming with hope. Each step felt empowering. She was ready to meet the world, eager to see what meaningful love could unfold next on her journey. With resilience and clarity lighting her path, Violet was not merely surviving the dating world, she was thriving, empowered to create the love she truly desired.